Well, welcome to another episode of Rob Wall Official. I'm very excited about our guest today. I've been trying to get this guest on for quite a while, but she's so busy, so in demand. It's a miracle I've got her. I'm so thankful I've got her for the few minutes I have. She's a mother, an entrepreneur, best-selling author, speaker, pretty much an entertainer, and is the senior pastor of Limitless Church in Georgia. She has 2 sons. I'm here with none other than Real Talk Kim. Welcome.
Hey, I'm so excited to be with you, Rob Wall, all the way in London.
All the way in London,
Yes.
across the pond. Firstly, I've got to ask, how have you been? The last 2 years are completely unprecedented. Like, what have been the obstacles? Where's the opportunity been for you the last 2 years? How's it been?
Man, you know what? The pandemic, when we first went into the pandemic 2 years ago, I remember, Rob, I was walking into 2020. It was going to be the best year ever. I had finally made it on platforms and I was like pinching myself. This is going to be the best year ever. I get up and prophesy over our church. This is a year of 2020 vision.
The Lord's favor, year of the Lord's
Rob Wall. Listen, it was like, it was 2020 vision, all right, but it was like 2020 vision into our own lives because we got shut down. I had 41 events canceled that year. I walked through, my dad died that year. My best friend, the king of the castle. Then I walked through another tragedy in my family that I never saw coming. It was almost like God, it was the best thing that ever happened for me, this pandemic, because Rob, it made me find Kim. It's like, it made me do a lot of soul searching. And, I was a little more hard. I was like, bye, Felicia. I was like one of those kind of, I went from being from the south side of heaven to more focused. You know what I'm saying? Totally. And so it ended up being a phenomenal year for me. I really found God. I'm a preacher's kid and I thought I knew God, but I really found him, Rob. I found me. I'm in the best place I've ever been in my life.
I love it.
The pandemic was really good for me. I was in a pandemic before the pandemic, but didn't know it.
Oh, come on. In what sense? Because the pandemic as the great leveler caused you to see Jesus is all you need, or he's enough. Like how did you come to that conclusion?
I think because I was the queen of never getting in touch with myself. When you're raised in church, Rob, especially a preacher's kid, I was raised in United Pentecostal, which was a very strict religion. Women couldn't preach. You get divorced, you're going to hell on a slip and slide. There was like no grace, Yeah. And so I had some stuff in me that I needed God to deal with, so I would stop living one way at church and screaming, I receive it.
Yeah.
And never receive it because I never identified with my heart posture for real. Yeah. And so being isolated gave me a chance to really love me, find me, realize that what's in me was enough. God had created me with this way more bigger opportunity than I ever even dreamed of, but I was willing to just keep it in this little, in the walls, in the building, in the church. And so I think it just really, I fell in love with Kim and God.
That's amazing. And obviously we'll get to the state and place of your ministry, how it's exploded and the influence and impact you're having right now. But can we just rewind a bit? And for the few viewers that won't know who you are, just tell a little bit about Real Talk Kim's story, where you come from, where you've been, and how it's kind of brought you to where you are now.
Well, I am Real Talk Kim. Everybody knows me as Real Talk Kim. I'm really Kimberly Jones. I'm the daughter of Henry and Ann Jones. I'm their legacy. I have one brother. I am now pastoring a whole church.
Yeah, you are.
As a woman, which was my mom and dad's church. Yeah. And he passed it down to me, and I started pastoring it 2 years ago, Limitless Church. And I am the proud mama of 2 gentle giants, 6'5", both of them, Lincoln and Morgan. And you know what? I can honestly say I'm a great friend. I'm a great, you like me if you get to know me, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I'm an author. Yeah. I've written 4 books. Yeah. I'm a business owner, was in special ed my whole life. Literally had a parapro as I was growing up in school. And so I never thought I would write a book. I don't even know where commas, I still don't know where commas go, but I've written 4 bestsellers. I have an incredible podcast. I mean, God literally, I lost. Okay, here's the whole little piece of who I am. I lost everything at 36 years old. I've been married for 18 years. To the love of my life, my son's father, thought I could never make it without him. And sin took us further than we wanted to go, cost us more than we wanted to pay. And we lost our marriage after 18 years of marriage. And so I had to move back in with my mom and dad at 36 years old. And I thought I was going to lose my mind. Not only was I going to hell on a slip and slide, but I was starting over with my pride in the hole because I had to move back in with my mama. And so I lost everything at 36. Today I'm 49. I didn't start full-time ministry till I was 40. Didn't write my first book till I was 42. Didn't start my podcast that syndicated till I was 45. And now I'm 49 years old and I realize my life is just beginning.
That's phenomenal. And that's going to speak to so many people. I once heard you do an interview saying you would say you were literally depressed for 9 months and couldn't get out of your bed. Like how did you jump out of that struggle to start building what God's done in your life now? Because I mean, that's a phenomenal shift.
Yeah, it was. Rob, I had to really hit rock bottom and find out who the rock was at the bottom, which was Jesus. I had to go get a job. I remember I had to take care of my kids, because that's what you do with your mom. Everybody says, I don't know how you did it. I'm like, I didn't have a choice. But I remember laying in my bed, and this was a really huge mile marker for me. I had my mother, my father, and my 2 sons, and I was living back with them in Atlanta, and I was the black sheep of the family. I was the one naying on bars. I mean, I was crazy. You tell me I can't do it, Rob, and I was going to go head for it. I've always been that way. I ain't scared of nothing. And it got me in trouble. And so I'm laid in my bed one night, about a year after, it was about 9 months. And I'm hating my job. I hate everything. If I had no friends, if I would have died, nobody would have come to my funeral. I wouldn't even have had a Facebook memorial page. You know what I'm saying? Because I was I had all of these walls built up, just fear of rejection. Man, I looked old. I was fat. I mean, I was just like, ugh, I just let my life go. And I'm laying in that bed one night, and my mom and dad would never let me just stay there. They were always like, you did it. Like, yeah, we love you, baby girl, but they always would tell me, you're building your testimony. I'm like, what the heck? I would never tell anybody all this stuff that I'm going through. And so one day I was in my bed, and mama came up and she was like, it's time to get up. He's like, you've been here long enough. Like, this is ridiculous. You got to get up, because guess what? Unless you're going to kill yourself, you got to get up, and I ain't going to kill myself. So that day, Rob, I got up, and I remember getting in the shower, and I said, God, take this pain away from me. I cannot go on. I can't eat. I'm mad. I'm angry. My kids need their mom. I'm depressed. My room looks like I can't even find my floor, because your car, your house, your room, everything looks like you on the inside. For real. All of y'all, you're welcome. Go take inventory. And so I said, God, take this pain away. And I remember for the first time probably ever, Rob, at about 37 years old, I heard God. Out of all these years being a preacher's kid, going to camps, I never had heard God. I was always waiting that God was going to be like, Kimberly. Yeah. And I just thought I was such a bad birdie. He just never came to my house to talk to me. But that night it was like I'd lost everything. Yeah. And all of the separation was causing me to elevate, because I had nobody to go to. I had to turn to God. And I remember that day, it was like God spoke and said, I'm breaking your spirit to save your soul. And I'm like, what? You're so mean. And I remember so clearly hearing God say, I can't take this pain away from you. You got to get up and walk away. And that was the shift for me. I went and got some to a deliverance dude after that, which I was always deliverance, because I was like, I be spitting up everywhere. I ain't doing all that. But I didn't, man. I went and I talked to this person that really got to the root of, because I couldn't understand why I was so messed up. My dad was great. My mom was great. I was raised in a weird religion, but for the most part, I had all the love I needed. I don't know why I was so bored my whole life. And now I know, because the enemy can't take you out. So he tries to wear you out, and he does it in your own stinking thinking. He gets where he can. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The only way he can do that, because he's a punk. Yeah. The only way he can get a hold of your life is if you let him. Your choices, getting stuck.
And I might be echoing and repeating one of your lines. It probably is, but the enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can distract you, right?
Woo!
That might be one of yours. I mean, I don't know who that I think that might be a Real Talk Kim original. But how did you God spoke to you and intervened, so you left a victim mindset and was on the road to victory. How do our viewers do that? Do they have to get in God's presence? How are they to break free?
Rob, I promise you, I said, God, I'm going to give you a year. And in this year, I started off 3 months. We ain't going to act like I was all that in a bag of chips. I said, I'm going to give you 3 months, because I think I can do anything for 3 months. I'm not going to listen to even music. I'm going to turn on podcasts, preaching. I couldn't even tell you if Noah took 2 animals or 4. I mean, I was a preacher's kid. So I went on a journey at like 37 years old. Rob, I promise you, I got me a kid's Bible. I started listening to preaching, going to work. I had an hour drive going to work and coming home. I worked at Bloomingdale's in their makeup department. Yeah. I decided to stop hating my job, and I would use the stuff I got on my way. It was like my Bible school. Yeah. I would be listening to TD Jakes. He'd be, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. I'd go balls in my car. Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. But what was happening, Rob, is what you put in you pushes out what was in you that wasn't good. So it's like the overflow. And so that's what I did, Rob. I put in the work. Nothing changes until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Facts. If you are not obsessed with your life, change it. And it starts with you. Internal. So that's what you have to do, Rob. I got me a mentor. You got to invest in yourself at this place. You got to get you a mentor. You got to find people that are doing better than you, man. People that are where you want to go. You got to overdose on those people. You got to spend time with God. You got to talk and then be quiet and listen to God. You got to fall back in love with you, because most of the time we don't love us, because we've lost who we are trying to get people to love us that was never supposed to love us in the first place.
So good. So this is a deeper level question, but as you've grown in influence, has the enemy intensified his attack on your life by negative self-talk or trying to bring you back into shame? Like, I'm really interested. Someone that's got such an impact in the body of Christ now, the devil's not just going to sit down and let you play ball. So have you got not devices, but kind of a strategy to stop you from letting him beat you down? Like, I'd love to know from someone who's that influential how you cope with it.
Man, Rob, last year, about 2 years ago, actually, everybody knows my story. I preach about my testimony, how God brought this incredible man into my life, and I loved him so much. And I was 40 years old, and this man came into my life. And 2 years ago, I am the relationship expert. I could tell you how to keep a man, how to run one off. Okay. I could tell you how to what. And so I am a great wife. I am telling my testimony all over the world. And yeah, man, the enemy hit me in that relationship. And literally in this pandemic, like in January, this huge story, I'm preaching in a city, and all of these people start calling me and saying, girl, we are so sorry. We are so sorry. Your husband's such a jerk. And I'm like, what? Wow. And they're like, we're sorry. We didn't know you were walking through this. I'm like, what? I found out with the rest of the world that this dude was not who he said he was. So you want to talk about the enemy, Rob? The enemy, I knew at that moment, it was like, then we go into the pandemic, and then I had to go through all of that in this pandemic. But I'm going to tell you what I did this time, Rob. I was devastated. It was almost like every single thing that I had done And now all of this, I'm hitting rock bottom with this situation. But here's what I did this time, Rob. I said, God, this is not taking you by surprise. Because of course, Rob, all of a sudden I'm thinking, we're in a pandemic. I just lost 41 events. Now this on it's and the world's talking about it. It's ever what?
It's blown, yeah.
And I remember God spoke to me, Rob, and said, this is your time to grow through what I've taught you all these other years. And literally, Rob, when I tell you, it's almost like my dad died and 3 months later that happened. The enemy is never going to stop.
No.
And if he can't get to you, he will get the people around you. And that's what he does. And I had to literally make a decision in that season every day. Because I'm pastoring a church in a pandemic, all of this, and having to walk through something that is in the news. And I remember God spoke to me and he said, don't say a word. Let your fruit outlive the lies. Don't you defend yourself. Don't you say a word. Don't you address it. I'm like, what?
He'll vindicate you. Yeah.
He did it, Rob. He did it. And in the last 2 years, it's been 2 years, God is literally elevated. And it's almost like God, it was like poof. Devastated me. But when I tell you, when I say this thing made me grow, that was one of the reasons it made me grow, was because I had to practice what I preached in such a way that I said, God, this ain't fair one time. And then I said, no, God, because sometimes, Rob, what we don't understand is rejection is God's protection. When God moves you to another place, a lot of times the reason people fall off around you is because their character can't keep up with your purpose.
So good. My goodness. It's like people drilling, as you talk about people drilling holes in your boat at some point.
Yes. Who knew? But if you stay woke in the process of a heartbreak, see, the enemy wants you in the middle of a heartbreak to fall apart, to shut the world out. But in that heartbreak, God is revealing, Rob, so many lessons. You know how many pastors have reached out to me in the last 2 years? I mean, like people that got it going on, that have walked through what I've walked through, and they watched me walk through it. So God doesn't waste a thing. So yes, the enemy sins. That punk ain't never going to stop, but he can't take you out.
And do you think, I think I already know the answer to this, but with the greater the affliction, you found you've grown in anointing and authority, or do you feel like that's always stayed consistent, but the influence has increased?
You know what it did, Rob? It made me soften. It made me almost like, it made me more like Jesus. Yeah. Like it made me literally grow so much. I preach better now, man. I got oil on me because when my daddy died, I got his transference because the devil took that punk. That punk took my daddy out early. That was an untimely death. My daddy got dementia, and because of a generational curse, he ended up dying early. I got his legacy to carry out. Then when the enemy took my husband, you know what happened? One will put 1,000 a flight, two will put 10,000 a flight. I realized at that moment, I want the anointing. I want the souls that would have been saved if sin wouldn't have got in there and tore us apart. Yeah. So I think it's looking at it from a different perspective. It's saying, you know what? Yeah, it happened. Yeah, it stunk. But what I got out of it, I couldn't have gone to seminary and gotten.
That's it, isn't it? Your life experience is the
oil.
Have you surrounded yourself? I mean, something like anyone's personal life being blown up in the press is intrusive. Have you found that you've been extra intentional in like crafting a circle? Like how do you go about picking those that you're going to trust and let into your world?
Man, listen, I pray for discernment because I stunk at discernment. I believed in people so much, saw the red flags, but I was the one to be like, it's a carnival. I can change them. I can fix them. God healed this ratchet girl. He can do it for them. So I've really prayed for a lot of discernment. I have a very incredible team, man, that literally have walked with me through the last 2 years. And even before, they knew me. They know the dark and they got my back, man. God has really, when I tell you, he didn't just restore. God's vindicated, and God's given me restitution 7 times greater. But I'm so careful now. But you know what? I love hard. I got grace, more grace than ever. I don't hate nobody. I love everybody. Like, I realize the only reason people treat you the way they do, the reason they step out on marriages, the reason they, break your heart is because they're broken. It don't mean I got to put up with they're broken. I want them to eat, just not at my table.
Oh, so good.
But you know what, Rob, it's gonna happen. This stuff's gonna happen. You just got to navigate through it.
Yeah, and you've talked openly. You're mentored. You've been mentored and coached by Pastor Rob Parsley, who's phenomenal, man. Like, share the importance of finding a coach and a mentor. Obviously, you get the impartation, but you get a whole load of other stuff with it. So, talk a bit about that.
Well, at 21 years old, I was at his Bible school.
Yeah.
And my parents had sent me there to get saved because I was so bad. And I went to Bible school and I was singing on his front line. I was scared to death of him at World Harvest Bible School. And he saw me looking at the piano boy, which is my dad, my 2 sons' father. And he was like, I am not going to bless this thing. You are going to mess up your anointing. You better break that thing off. And I remember at 2:00 because we were in Israel. And coming home from Israel from doing an Easter special, he tells me this on the plane. And I get home at 2:00 in the morning and I put gas in my Yugo and we head to Atlanta and I married the exact man he tells me not to.
Oh my goodness.
So all of y'all watching right now, y'all like, girl, you're making me feel so much better about myself. But Rob, we did not talk for 25 years. I mean, I literally think I probably stayed in that marriage. I love that boy's guts. Listen, we would have been riding still to this day if alcoholism and stuff wouldn't have taken this marriage out. You hear me? Like, I'm a fighter, but I probably stayed a lot longer than I should have. Because of him. I was trying to prove Rod Parsley wrong. But, I remember Rob, even in that at 36, 37, when I was walking through that, I remember in that season, God telling me, I can't take the pain, get up and walk away from it. And I remember in that season, God said, I'm going to blow your mind if you listen to me. Just shh, because I'm a talker. Shh, just nobody needs to know your life. They're in an app in your phone. Shh. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember at 44, I'd been in ministry for 2 years full time from a video that went viral. And Pastor Rod Parsley's offices reached out to me at 44 and said, we want to invite Real Talk Kim to preach at Dominion Camp Meeting. Dominion Camp Meeting is like what we lived for. And I promise you, Rob, I all the blood left my body. I'm like, he is punking me. Ashton Kutcher's going to be there. And I remember getting off the plane and seeing my face on that big billboard with all men on the flyer that had been preaching for 50 years. And here I am. I've been preaching for 4. And I left his Bible school. And I remember walking into that church and God speaking to me and saying, this is what I do. This is how I do it. And for everybody watching right now, Rob, it ain't over until God says it's over, until it ain't over until you take your last breath. It is just beginning. Where you are, the minute you surrender and say, yes, God, take me to the King. And I remember walking in there and Pastor Rod, he grabbed me and hugged me and he said, I am so proud of you. Talk about redemption.
Yes.
And he's just my spiritual dad now, now I get to preach every Dominion Camp Meeting. And we're family and God has done that for me, Rob. God has brought some of the greatest men of God into my life that are my dad, that I listen to now. I believe in accountability. I believe in mentors. I believe in not being the smartest one in your circle. I believe in growing every day. And dying to your flesh every day and holding yourself accountable every day and not allowing pride and all those other things to take you down, getting in a relationship because you're looking for love in all the wrong places. Don't let the enemy win. Don't let your hell go to waste. So yeah, man, he talks to, they talk to me.
And a lot of people, watch what you say as well. I mean, let's just shift to your social media. Real talk, Kim. It's a profound amount. There is a profound amount of favor on that, but there's also incredible originality to the stuff you put out. It's purely you and your wisdom. I'm interested, with such a busy life. How do you go about creating fresh content? Is it an overflow of your time with God, or have you always had a way with words? You're incredible at the pithy statements, the one-liners. They just hit people where they need hitting. Like, share a bit about that.
I've always, because I was in special ed, I've always been like street smart. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever you're not good at, I've always been one of those. I will figure it out. And so I've always been witty. And when I was in United Pentecostal, mama would put me in blue jean skirts and Keds to go to school. I was so ugly. And so I had to, in order to get friends and not be made fun of, I found out I was really funny. Like, I could be a stand-up comedian. Like, my brain, like, I can have you in service bawling and then laughing and then bawling, get delivered. You don't even know it. And so I always am thinking of, like, I get these one-liners, like God just drops it in my spirit, because that's how I get delivered, Rob. I need simple. I don't need to know about the veil, the Ark of the Covenant. That's all good and stuff, but that ain't my lane. My lane, you know what I'm saying? And so I need things delivered. I need things delivered to me with a perspective, so that I can be like, oh my God. I remember when I realized I had it, Rob, was one day I'm laid in bed and I'm crying. And I remember God said, rejection is, and he just dropped this in my spirit, rejection isn't necessarily someone wanting out of your life, but it's somebody I needed out of your future. And that set me free. All of a sudden, this dude I couldn't let go of.
So good. What a love. Can you say
and
that
now
again?
God just gives them to me.
Can you say that again? I'm going to put that as a lower third on this episode.
Yeah. Rejection is not necessarily someone wanting out of your life, but it's somebody God needed out of your future. It had nothing to do with your 5-finger forehead. It had nothing to do with your big old thick thighs. Everything to do with anything that leaves your life.
Yeah.
Not a part of your destiny. So stop trying to stabilize what God's shaking you free from.
And you're in a season where, sure, some things have left, but a lot's coming in. So, like,
yeah.
I mean, I want to know how you cope with keeping the main thing. So I had a weird experience last week that you'll be used to every single day. I woke up in the morning and my wife B says, your phone's been lit up all night. And I go, what? And Pastor Keon Henderson put an interview up that we did together, and he tagged me in it. And I woke up with something like 500 new, what are they called, notifications or what have you. And I'm just like, oh, my day could be full right now, just scrolling through. I'm sure you've got a team that helps you, but how do you make sure you're just not on this all day, engaging with people? Because you got over 1 million followers. Like, this is madness. Like, how do you do it?
I think one of the greatest things God's given me through all this junk that I've walked through is I've gotten free from people. I love everybody, but your opinion of me is a hill of beans. Like I haters are confused fans. I don't clap back. I have nothing to prove. If I put up a post that makes, people start debating, I usually take it down, because God's not a God of chaos and confusion. So I'm just really smart when it comes to what I allow in my spirit. And I figure it out. I think when you're walking in your purpose, like, the more that happens to you, Rob, which is just beginning, this not ironic that happened to you at the beginning of 2022, because that's God showing you, I'm about to blow your mind, right? Amos 9:13, Rob Wall, it says God's decree said things are about to happen so fast that your head is about to spin blessing upon blessing. You won't be able to keep up. And what's so cool about God, Rob, is that when you walk into a new hall of doors, that you're going to be it's just going to be like nothing. It's going to be like nothing changes, because with every step up, with every new door in your life, Rob, God is going to equip your brain, your heart, and all of the things, mechanisms on the inside of you to be able to walk in it. And Rob, you're a lot like me. People say, how do you handle this? Nothing feels different. Why? Because it ain't about me. And when it ain't about you and you're not getting your validation from an app or from people, you don't get sideswiped with, oh my God, look at me. Yeah, no. And as long as you don't get caught up in yourself, it is so easy to handle the steps. And Rob, that was God. That was God that allowed that to happen now, because that is God saying, Rob, you've passed the test. Now I'm going to take you to the world, all the way in London. And I'm about to open the windows of heaven over your life. And you're going to be able to handle it.
I love that, because he doesn't expose us to things to say, no, you're never going to get that. It's an element of, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it and go back, right?
And Rob, I really feel like the Lord wants me to tell you this, that the reason he's opening these doors for you, and this is nothing, is because your consistency in the small. He said, be faithful in the little and God will reward you with much. And all those times that you were putting in all the work, all those no's you got, all of those not a lot of likes, you thought, man, this is going to be the one that, this is going to really bless people. And nobody liked it. Nobody shared it. And when you wanted to give up, Rob, you got up and you stayed consistent. Yeah. And because you didn't let the numbers get to you, because you didn't let the no's get to you, God said, now I can trust you with the masses.
Hey,
and it will never affect you.
For our viewers, Real Talk Kim, that want to find out more about your ministry, you're doing so much stuff. How can they find you? All the info will come up on the screen now, but please tell us how can we discover more of Real Talk Kim?
Every single thing about me is at realtalkkim.com. I'm on every platform, podcast, TikTok, everywhere.
On TikTok.
Real Talk Kim. I'm still trying to figure TikTok out, okay? But we there. We just arrived.
I love it. And if there's one question that you wish you'd been asked that I didn't ask, that you wish I did ask, what would it be?
I think you did a really great interview.
Okay. I'll take
So I don't even know. I you know what? Just live. Kim, if I were to ask you, what's the antidote to living a stress-free, amazing life in the middle of a pandemic and just a society full of likes and retweets and filters, my whole answer would be fall in love with who God created you to be. Enjoy, love every piece of you. Love your 5-finger forehead. Love your thick thighs. Love you. Don't let nobody else put labels on you. You live the way God created you to live and fall back in love with you. And the limits are endless.
Real Talk Kim, thank you so much. I mean, I feel like we've just scratched the surface. I'd love to have you on again in the future.
Yes, I would love it. You're awesome, Rob.
Thank you. As a year, speechless really. Thank you for your time and loads of love.
Yeah. Love you guys.